What do you think about ghosts and shit? That's another one I think would be super cool if it was real, but is not. There's no evidence of paranormal ghosts and shit like that, unfortunately. But that's another one I think would be very cool. The resub meow. What about God? Oh, we're getting so deep. I think no matter what your stance on religion is, no matter what your stance on like higher powers are, at some point when you go far enough back, you have to accept something came from nothing. So I still do believe there is something out there, like a higher power, like a God, but I really just don't think God would want people like doing what a lot of people do, like giving money to pastors for a fucking private jet or $120,000 Rolex and bragging in front of the congregation. I feel like that'd be like the number one thing they wouldn't want. But I do absolutely think there is a higher power there. Charlie's religious. I got baptized twice, but I'm not really religious. Not anymore. Yeah, I've told that story multiple times. I got baptized twice. Once when I was a baby, and then once when I was like fucking 13. I was super religious, and I was really concerned that maybe the Lord didn't see me get baptized the first time. So I got baptized the second time just to be super certain he watched. Yeah, I was super, super religious. And I guess since we're going down, I've already said all of this before, but I'll say it again, I guess. The reason I'm not anymore is because that was like the worst period in my entire life. I was always fearful of everything, concerned that I was always committing like a sin. It kept me completely afraid of everything all the time. It wasn't doing great for my mental health. It really just made me afraid of everything and every decision and every action I take. I only listened to Christian music, and I listened to the same 3 songs on repeat because I knew those had like those were safe to listen to Christian songs. I would only like anytime I had an impure thought, I would change my clothes because I felt like I dirtied them by just having impure thoughts. Like it was bad. Did you listen to Skillet? It was Skillet, Pillar. What was the third one? Who sang Meant to Live? Switchfoot? I think it was Switchfoot. Yeah, I think it was Switchfoot. Those were like the main three. There's the resub Boson, Duda, and the Prime Walter, and the resub Trippy. Were your parents hyper religious? Nope, they never were. I was the very religious one because I was friends with a pastor's son. So he would always be like teaching me about like the Bible and stuff, and I tried to get my parents on board, and they were super supportive. Like we'd go to church all the time, even though they weren't really into it. But it was just miserable for me, just living in fear constantly. Why were you baptized then? Because they let me. They said sure. What were you scared of? What do you mean, what was I scared of? Literally everything. Like a lot of the sermons that I was getting at church were always like really scary ones. Like when God tested Abraham, like I need you to sacrifice your. Not, was it Abraham? Might have been. Like bring your son up to the mountain. I need you to sacrifice him for me to prove that you'll do anything for me. And then as he's about to kill his son, he's like, wait, I was just making sure you'd actually do things like this for me. Like hearing those kind of stories is scary. Like wow, like he's pretty strict. There's a lot of things that are not allowed, you know? There's a lot of sins. How strict is he going to be? Am I going to hell because I had this impure thought of boobies? You know, like it was just miserable. I was always scared. So I eventually just stopped going to church and I stopped being super religious. But I have nothing against people who are. I totally get it. But I will say, even when I was still hyper religious, it always did rub me the wrong way, having to do like donations in the beginning of church and stuff. And the church was massive, it was a mega church. I always felt like there'd be no Like, it makes no sense why the Lord would want the pastors and everyone in the, like, a crazy life of luxury at the expense of the people that go there. Because the people that went there, they weren't super well off. Like, a lot of the people that went there, they didn't have a ton of money to be giving to that church, and they were still taking it from them. That always was kind of weird to me. Still is. Then you have pastors like Kenneth Copeland bragging about their private jet and defending why they need a private jet so they can be closer to God instead of in a tube with devils. Then you had that other guy, I think it was Peter Popoff, who was bragging that his Rolex cost more than anyone in the congregation's house. Like, that's... I don't think that's right. I feel like that would just go against everything that the religions are supposed to be about. He's a resub certified. Didn't God also ask for 100 foreskins? That wasn't God. We actually talked about that on the podcast with Windigoon. That's the story of Saul and David, I believe. Saul wanted to give David an impossible task, so he was given the order to get 100 foreskins from Philistines. It was supposed to get him killed, because the only way to prove he got the foreskins would be to kill them. So he thought by giving him this, it would lead to his death, but he returned with the 100 foreskins as requested. He killed 100 Philistines and delivered the foreskins. I think it was Saul and David. He's resub Sky, Formula, and the Prime Burp. Thought he killed 200. 100, 200, something. It was a huge number. I don't remember what it was. That shit's in the Bible. It is in the Bible. I think it's the resub Raisin Bran. Am I a fan of Kingdom Hearts? Nope. Kingdom Hearts 3 I still think is one of the worst stories in all of gaming. I'll say it. I haven't replayed 1 and 2 in a long time, so those might still hold up and be fun, but I played through 3 when that came out. Man, what a disaster. Thought you said Forspoken is worse than Kingdom Hearts. Yeah, that was I was a little lost in the moment. Forspoken's not nearly as bad as Kingdom Hearts when it comes to its story. It's just not. I was just getting a little lost in the sauce on that.